Because it's interesting. I don't even listen to podcasts. I don't listen. I watch. Every podcast that I consume, I always consume it with video. Even if I'm watching Joe Rogan, I'm still watching Joe Rogan. I don't just listen to it. When I'm sitting at my desk, I consume video podcasts. And typically, the way I like to do it is I'll be producing or doing something, whatever it may be, and I'll have the podcast playing on a different tab. If they get excited or they start laughing, because I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, I'll tab over to see what the hell's going on, because I want a visual representation of what I'm hearing. I want to feel like I'm part of what's going on. Okay, well, this is where I'm going to fuck things up a little bit, and I get in trouble with the old school podcasters when I do this, because in my personal opinion, podcasting has evolved to where we don't necessarily have a differentiation between YouTube or a podcast.
Oh, I fucking love that.
Even TikTok. I mean, TikTok, you can go up to 10 minutes. You can have your podcast on TikTok. Podcast is just the term now. Now, traditionally speaking, a podcast was defined as a digital audio file that's distributed using an RSS feed. Okay, that's old school shit. And granted, they still use it and it still works, but that's an old school mindset. If somebody's watching my videos on YouTube and they go, hey, I was listening to Larry's podcast, but they're referring to my YouTube channel, guess what that YouTube channel is? It's a podcast.
Right.
So we as creators need to understand that consumers don't give a shit what we label it. It's still a podcast. So we need to take advantage of that opportunity across the board. It doesn't matter where you're doing it.
Yeah, I think that video piece is really key. I hang out in a bunch of different podcast groups on Facebook, and people, it's still at least a once or twice a week question from new podcasters: should I do video? And it's amazing to me how many people actually answer the question with the answer no. Like, YouTube's the largest podcast distributor right now, and I'll drop that little knowledge in there, and people are like, "What? But they're all video." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but everyone has their podcast on YouTube, and more people are going there and listening to it than Spotify."
I think a lot of people are like the idea, maybe they're introverted in nature or whatever else, that they don't have to show up on camera.
Sure.
Look, in this day and age, everything's fucking camera. I mean, if you're not in front of it telling your story or teaching, somebody else is going to be telling your story and teaching. So you might as well, leverage that as much as possible.
YouTube has recognized this as well. They have youtube.com/podcast. So they have a dedicated YouTube URL specifically for podcasts. And they're starting to cater more heavily towards podcasts. They announced this last year. It was right before Podcast Movement. There was an industry summit that was a day before PM that I managed to sneak my way into. And YouTube was in there speaking on it. And they're dedicating a ton of resources to podcasting because they see the potential there. Now, if the largest video channel or website in the world is looking at podcasts and knowing that there's something that adds benefit there, if they're investing in it, we should be investing in it too.